and welcome to the Everyday Board Game Podcast with your host, Daniel.
And Daniel.
So there I was on one of our sketchiest streets earlier, like right why I'm late. I was on one of our sketchiest streets at a dollar store, realizing how strange it was asking for little tiny Ziploc baggies.
You're
one of the reasons I was late. And I didn't realize that because I was at the dollar store. I know I just jumped right into this, and I did not bring into context. No, I thought this was a fun anecdote.
But the thing is, it's like in the middle of the podcast.
Yes, no. And because I was buying it for board game pieces, I wanted to buy little Ziploc baggies. And I went to a dollar store, and I asked the person, I was like, hey, do you by chance have those? And he was like, what do you mean? I was like, well, like little Ziploc baggies. I was like, I need, like, for arts and crafts and small pieces and stuff. And he was like, hold on. And so he asked one of his colleagues, hey, do we have these little Ziploc baggies? And she just looks over, no. And I realized how strange of a question that is on the street that I'm at, which is one of our sketchiest ones, by the way. And yeah, so I almost got the cops called on me is where I'm going with this.
It's so random in the middle of the podcast, at the beginning of the podcast. Yeah. It's just, I'm going to have to cut this whole section out.
Why?
Because it makes no sense.
Yeah, that's the point. How are you doing today, Daniel?
I'm not doing well. You're annoying the crap out of me since you got here.
Just so y'all know, normally board game breakdowns are one of our non-contentious episodes.
He just wants to pick on me today, and it's not looking good. The lightsaber's within reach.
I don't understand why you're so upset, personally. That's all I'm saying. Is I went to go buy Ziploc bags. That's all it was. And then I realized how...
We weren't even having that conversation. He just literally started like we had a conversation. And I'm like, what the heck is going on?
That's exactly right. I thought I would change it up a little bit, you know.
The algorithms do not like it when you change things up.
Oh, like they care what we're doing.
The podcast does.
It'll be fine. Viewers of the podcast, let us know what you think. Viewers of the podcast. Listeners of the podcast. Let us know what you think. So, Daniel, how have you been lately?
I was doing fine. I'm going to have an aneurysm by the end of the night.
Let me cheer you up. Why don't you tell the people what you experienced last week? Last Thursday, what was it? It was a very important day.
No, I'm not worried about that.
Well, you're going to bring it up anyway, because I just did.
I'm good. Last Thursday was... When is this supposed to air? Last Thursday should have been the 10th, 11th, like the 12th of September. I didn't celebrate anything on that.
So what did you celebrate last Thursday, chronologically from right now? Today is, by the way, September 3rd.
I've celebrated my 40th birthday.
Yeah, congratulations. That's exciting. And
like I told my grandma when I was talking to her on the phone, I'm surprised I survived this long. I figured my parents would have killed me before I was 20.
Exactly. Probably. I don't blame you at all. Judging by how you act now. No, I'm just kidding. Well, last time, the reason I bring this up is not to make fun of your age. I don't.
Yeah, right.
Because last December, you made me open something on this podcast, sir. So I got you a little something. Here you go. And I know you like spooky season, so I got a nice decorative box for it.
Oh, okay.
All right. So
wow, love the wrapping.
You know what?
I always wrap.
I almost got shot for buying baggies on our ghetto street. I wasn't about to go back in and get tissue paper. All right. Like let's just be real here. It's coming out the back here.
Oh.
Yep.
Oh, that's cool. Left hand ornament. What the heck is that? Oh, this is really cool. It's the alien coming out of the gut.
It's a gingerbread. It is a Christmas ornament that you hang up on your Christmas tree.
Well, we're going to have a Christmas tree here in a couple months. So.
Yeah, there you go. Oh, there's one more piece there. There you go.
Oh, some pins. What the heck is Left Hand Asylum?
Oh, don't worry about that. That's just the company I bought it from.
This is from the Comic-Con, huh?
I don't know.
Yeah, where were you recently?
Oh, okay. I can bring that up here in a bit.
Probably the next
episode. Don't take this away from your celebration, sir. I'm trying to celebrate my good buddy, my co-host here. And you're trying to turn it back on. No, this is your time. Enjoy it.
This is the cool pins. It'll go nicely up there on those pin boards right there next to my Canadian moose.
Yeah, I figured you would like that. And all the movies that are represented in there, I think, They're really your style.
Most 3 of the 4 I really enjoyed.
Yeah. I mean, I know you're not an Evil Dead fan or anything.
I don't mind Evil Dead. I don't like the one scene in Evil Dead.
Right, which is fair, but I got it for the other ones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Exorcist is the one I'm not a fan of.
Oh, really?
I'm okay with the movie. Honestly, I don't like possession films and stuff like that.
Sure.
They're okay. They're nothing great about them, but thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, happy birthdays.
Yeah, this only means I'm going to have to make it bigger in December.
No. I did this out of act of kindness. You did it out of act of malice.
I did not do it.
Very different.
Last time I did not do it out of an act of malice. I just made you celebrate your birthday. That's the only difference.
And that's why it's so offensive to me and my people. Let me tell you.
You're just mad you had to share a cake.
And I'll never let it down. Ever. This is shenanigans. All right. What a great way to start an episode. Happy birthday again, sir.
Thank you, so.
All right. We're going to get into today's episode. Today we're talking about Stefan Feld games. We've talked about it plenty of times before, but we realized we've never done an actual breakdown of his games before.
And what's interesting about it, when I pulled up all the games, one, I knew he had a lot of games. I didn't know how little it actually is compared to some other designers we've actually broke down. And 2, I did bring up the newer releases of certain games because there are things changed, and so I want to look at some of those things. But 3, I've actually played a lot of these. There's very few games I have not tried of Stefan Feld, which is shocking for me because there's a lot of times when we do one of these designers, like I think
it's like a 50-50 maybe.
Stonemeyer, the publisher Stonemeyer Games, that video of ours, which still is our best YouTube video ever of all time, the interview we had with him.
Thank you to Jamie Stegmeyer.
I have played every single one of his games. And then when we did it, I played every single one of those games. That's by far the most of any publisher, designer, anything we've done on a breakdown.
Yep.
I think I'm about 80% on Stefan Feld games.
Yeah, probably, right?
Yeah,
I mean, I'll keep a running total as we're going. You know, just because I'm curious about how many we've played.
Yeah, I've played quite a bit of his games as I'm bringing everything up, and we'll get into that when we get into the actual topic and stuff like that. But yeah, I found that interesting. Is like we've already said we've been Feldians for ages. Yep. I think both of us, our introduction to Stefan Feld is like his biggest game, and still everybody loves this game. But I actually love quite a bit of his games, as you can tell right here.
Yeah, you can easily tell that.
And technically, I have 2 shelves of Feld. I have the big shelf over here with most of the City Collection stuff. And then I have this little section right over here that has also the Phil Walker Harding game in front. Yeah. By the way, I played that.
Yeah, I saw. I'm sorry. After this episode, we'll talk about that because I'm definitely curious.
I legitimately... spoiler alert, I really liked it. But I want to play it with more people. I only played it 2 players.
Yeah, I bet it was probably it might be better. We'll see. I don't know.
Oh, yeah, no, I liked it a lot, though.
Cool. Awesome. So, but before we get into that, let's get into today's news. We have 4 pieces of news each that we're going to be talking about. We'll just start this off, and we'll just bounce back and forth from here on out. Here you go.
All right, starting with me, the first bit of news that I want to talk about is a Essen pre-order. You can, if you can't make it to Essen, you can still pre-order it online.
Yep.
I really like this one. You and me love to bling out our games, especially if it's something that's going to stay around for us.
Yeah.
Board and Dice have announced an upgrade packs for a lot of their games.
Oh, yeah.
Supposed to be released for Essen, but you can pre-order it off their website right now. What they said is you're going to be able to get coins for Nucleum, which I believe I am getting a copy. I think I did pick it up in the Nerds Deal of the Day.
Okay.
So wait for next month when I have statistics for Nerds Nerds Day from August 2020 or August 30th, 2024. So, but it hadn't got up by the time we were making this news, so you have to wait till next month for those statistics.
And that day I was unfortunately traveling the entire time, so I got the second to last hour, and I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. Maybe I'll get that. Oh, wait, no, it's sold out. Okay, never mind. And then I saw it after it was all mostly sold out.
Yeah, so metal coins for Nucleum. You could also buy some patches that are representative of their games, and I believe pins as well. Mm-hmm. You can get wooden pieces for Barcelona if you really want to upgrade that game, which is a fantastic game, by the way.
It is.
They're also doing rewood for tulips for Windmill Valley. If you're not familiar with rewood, it is that compressed
recycled
wood.
Dust, yeah.
Yeah, it was like sawdust almost, recycled to fill like plastic, resin, and stuff like that. We've actually been able to mess with a couple of the pieces from Kunta Ora. That's the one that first did it. It was really interesting because it did feel like plastic, but you knew it was wood. It was a interesting. It's not a bad texture and stuff like that, so I don't think people are gonna have like textural issues with it. But it was just different because you know it's wood, but it feels like plastic. It was quite interesting. But like I said, it's supposed to be an SN release, but there are pre-orders based on their website. In fact, I've been getting advertisements for it on my Facebook.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, Board and Dice upgrades if you're interested.
Cool. The first thing I want to talk about is some brand new releases. 3 new releases from a company that we quite like that no longer exists. One of my favorite companies that no longer exists and still coming out with games. That's Funko Games. These were ones that were in the works already. They didn't really necessarily announce them, but I did find out that they would be coming out pretty soon. Mm-hmm. And there's 3 titles specifically that I'm pretty excited about. First is Only Murders in This Hotel, or whatever, the Netflix series. They made a game based off of that.
Only Murders in the Building.
Yeah, Only Murders in the Building, whatever it is, in this hotel, whatever. I haven't seen it, but I do actually kind of want to see it because it is Steve Martin and Martin Short.
It's fantastic. And Selena Gomez actually holds her own with them.
Yeah, I mean, she
seems
all right.
Which is shocking.
Yeah, again, I've never seen her in an acting capacity, so I don't really know, but...
the only acting I ever saw her do is because my nieces watched Wizards of Waverly Place.
Oh, yeah.
She was fine then, but she was also a kid. But she holds her own in this one.
Cool. Yeah, and that's what matters. Because I've seen her, like, the 3 of them at, like, late-night shows. And you can imagine, like, talking to a late-night host. Like, she can't hold her own, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And that's not a criticism on her. That just shows Steve Martin and Martin Short's, like, real strength.
Yeah.
Like, they will hold the show. They take away from the host when they are on as a pair. Yeah. So, I mean, there is that. But either way, that's one of the 3. Have you heard of the other ones yet?
You told me what they were. I just can't remember. We talked about this like 2-3 weeks ago.
2 or 3 weeks ago, yeah. That was one of them. And then the other one is the House of Dragons Dark Dealings card game.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, and it looks like a House of Dragons based, like, not so much negotiation, not really hidden role or anything. Just kind of like manipulation card play. You know, and so I don't know if it's going to be more of a take that thing. I don't know if it's going to be more of like a bidding system. I really don't know. But I will tell you that since it's from Funko Games and Prospero Hall, I'm probably going to get it because that sounds awesome. And then another one that they posted on Board Game Geek that I saw while I was looking at these today, there was a new report of a game that doesn't have any pictures out. It was just on Board Game Geek from Funko Games and Goliath. And this is called Axolotl. And it's kind of like a party asking game about trying to find which axolotl is part of that. I can't read that. Sorry. Oh, yeah. I'll talk about that. Yeah.
No, is it a part of your...
No.
Okay, well, we should talk about it then.
Yeah, I figured after the news. Shut up. Yeah. But, so Axolotl, it's like a party game where you're trying to ask questions to determine which axolotl is the one that secretly belongs to whoever you're asking the questions for. Something like that. You know, it's standard party game, but it's probably going to be good components, decent game. It probably won't be my type of game. Like, there's a lot of those styles, but I'm willing to always give something like that a shot if it's from Prospero Hall.
Thought I'd let you know. One of our favorite things from the Gamma Expo. Mm-hmm. It's on pre-order right now on Pandasaurus's website, so just FYI. It's not part of my news. The tabletop...
Yep.
It's on pre-order. I pre-ordered myself a copy already. Just thought I'd let you know.
I think I'll have to. All right.
All right. Are we bouncing or am I
just go for it.
All right. So my next bit of news is a new game announcement from one of our favorite designers. Actually, I'm gonna squeeze in another one here because they just announced the next city expansions for Stefan Feld.
Yeah, why not?
God. It's getting... They've announced, 20 games
They've
or something?
announced up to 20 cities.
Cities for
games.
and I think they're all Felds.
Yes, they should be.
Yeah, but the Phil Walker Harding one actually has me intrigued.
Yeah, from AEG, no less.
Yeah, AEG, Misfits Heroes is the name of it. It is a fantastic realm that merged with the real world, and so you're trying to garner influence to score victory points. that sounds something up his alley and stuff like that. You're merging a couple things. It's all about being efficient and gaining your influence to basically pay for victory points.
Yep.
Yeah, I think I'm going to like this one. In fact, like I said, I just recently played one of his newest releases with Eric Lang, and I really enjoyed it.
Yep.
So, that is it. Misfit Heroes from AEG and Phil Walker Harding.
All right, I had some happy news that was reported. This news came out shortly after Gen Con this year. And so we have a lot of publishers that we really like, that I always call friends of the podcast. And there's some that I not only do I like the publishers, I like everybody who's involved in their companies. You know, they're just great people. A good example is like Fireside Games. Justin and Anne-Marie DeWitt, love them, right? But that's not what I'm talking about today.
I know.
I'm talking about one of our good friends, Kurt Covert from Smirk and Dagger. He sent out a report from Gen Con. That was by far the most successful Gen Con he has ever had. The vast majority of his titles this year at Gen Con completely sold out. He had like a multiple level booth as he was selling Boop the Halls, as he was selling Hi-Fi, and a lot of other releases.
Hi-Fi is the one I'm really looking for.
I am too. Oh my goodness, just that alone, I really like that theme. And out of all those games, he said that the vast majority of them, they completely sold out of them. And normally, like, they bring in multiple pallets of games.
Yeah.
And they walked back. They didn't come back with a single full pallet. They had to, like, combine some stuff. That was 150% increase from last year's Gen Con. They did gangbusters, which I couldn't be more happy for it. I wanted, and I've told this so many times on this podcast, I wanted Kurt to have an evergreen, and with Boop the Halls...
Well, just Boop in general.
Boop in general, yeah.
Because you got Boop, and then you have a Halloween version, Boop. And now Boop the Halls, which is... This is an interesting take. Yeah, it's a multi-leveled one. I'm like, ooh, I wonder how that works. Because, you know, cats do get in the Christmas tree, so it makes sense.
It really does. So, I want to try it, and... I'm just so happy for him. I really am.
He's a fantastic person. Friend of the podcast. Actually, one of our first interviews. One of our longest interviews because it was like 3 hours.
I know. We need to have them back on. I mean, and actually, I just got a new game that they released, and I finally bought it. It's called This Game is Killer. And it looks really cool.
That one does look really neat. I saw a review of it just recently, and I'm like...
3 to 8 players. I might have to bring it tomorrow.
It looks very interesting.
Yep.
All right, so going on to my next bit of news, speaking of Gen Con, it's actually a pretty decent segue on there. Not only were the fact that you were talking about how successful it was, I was reading an article, Anne-Marie DeWitt from Fireside Games saying it was a very successful Gen Con. There's some logistics that they would like to be fixed because it was very ridiculous for them to get in and out to unload and stuff like that.
Sure.
A lot of companies were afraid that they weren't going to get it done in time and they would have to go back Monday to finish unloading.
Back in the day, they would just have to assault people to get their product in.
Yeah. You know? So there is some logistics.
Wow, that's a deep inside cut, isn't it?
Yeah, but the thing about Gen Con, this was a record year for them.
Ooh. How
71,000 people in attendance.
Just to put that into perspective, our hometown is only 100,000 people.
There was 30,000 less than everybody in this city.
Yes. 7/10 of this whole town went to Gen Con. Not directly, but...
Yeah, but I'm just saying. It's
perspective.
Which is ridiculous. 71,000 people in attendance. That is massive. There are some, like, my wife is in a city right now that is not that big.
Right.
Comparatively. Another big thing about it, too, as you were mentioning, it was mostly positive sell numbers. Multiple publishing companies are saying this has been one of the best Gen Cons for them for sales and stuff like that.
That's awesome.
I know DeVere was one that said they did pretty good.
Yep.
Fireside Games said they did pretty good. Now that you're mentioning Smirk and Dagger did really good. So that is saying something. What's even more interesting about this, and now I don't have a lot of information on this, but there was less exhibitors in this one. Now, I don't know if it's because there's less people went to Gen Con, or it's just because a lot of the exhibitors had much bigger booths. Because last year, they had 570 exhibitors.
Okay.
They only had 540 this Gen Con.
So 30 fewer.
Theoretically. And that could be... Maybe they merged into one booth together. or some companies have shut down, like Holy Grail Games and stuff like that. So it could be a combination of things, but maybe it's just because a lot of exhibitors took bigger spaces. This way they can get more people into their booths.
Right.
That is always a possibility, but congratulations, Gen Con. I still always want to try to go to Gen Con, but these numbers scare me. I don't like massive crowds like that.
Yeah, I'm cool with it.
71,000 people. I'm one of those people. Don't touch me. Don't touch me.
I'd be the kind of person that's like, how many high fives can I give right now? Let's go. 71,000 high fives. I want my arm to break by the end of this.
Another thing, though, the people were mentioning about Gen Con is they want them to be more proactive with hygiene standards and stuff like that.
Oh, sure.
They want more hand sanitizers out there. A lot of people are reporting after the fact that they're just not feeling well after Gen Con.
Sure.
A lot of people are testing positive for COVID variants. So it is an issue, but it's something that we're going to have to live with. I agree. More hand sanitizer on the floor is not going to hurt anybody.
No, never does.
And honestly, I always say this, if you're going to any convention, if you're going to any board game store, or any live place,
With that anything close to that many people.
do proper hygienes. Wash your hands. Bathe before you go. Keep yourself clean because you don't want to assault the other people with odors and stuff like that. Just be mindful of everybody else.
Yeah.
And as you can hear, my dog is not having a good time because people are outside enjoying this beautiful September weather.
It is beautiful out. All right, the next news, you brought in the fact that, some companies might be closing up. I have sad news to report. There's a publisher that just announced recently that they are going to be closing up. That is Game Brewer Games.
Oh, yeah. This was on my short list.
Yeah, and I saw that. I was like, man, I got to talk about that because I've had dealings with them before. I've talked with them before. They make games like Paris, which has a beautiful Arc de Triomphe, like right in the middle of the board. A lot of their art is just fantastic.
They're the ones that did
Stroganoff. Right? I don't know about Oak. We can check that out here in a minute, but a whole bunch of Euro games.
Heavy Euros at that.
Yeah, and which was one of the few that would be prominent in a lot of these conventions that we go to. Yeah. I saw them at Origins. I saw them at the Gamma Expo and all those. Yeah. And I was really looking forward to them continuing the Euro-style games, the heavy, deep strategy games of victory points throughout the U.S. And unfortunately, that's just not going to happen right now. So now, I don't really know of too many localized U.S. game manufacturers that are specific to the U.S. And I'm not saying Game Brewer was, but
I know what you're talking about.
But I just don't know too many. Devere has a pretty good presence here.
Yeah,
and Asmodee is decent, right?
We're talking about games. People who print Euro games and stuff like that.
Yeah, Euro style games, but are predominantly in the U.S., right? And there's very few of them, and it's just kind of building that bigger divide that I wish was kind of close or not as prevalent. Unfortunately, instead of having to go literally to Europe to get a Euro style game.
Yeah, no, I get you on that one.
Yep.
Well, on another bit of news, when it comes to the business aspect, this is my final piece of news. You didn't even know about this when I was mentioning it to you. Asmodee is breaking off and becoming their own entity again. They are breaking off from the Embracer Group. It is going to be a slow process. The full break-off should be around April of 2025. Again, it's a slow process because you have to deal with a lot of stockholders and stuff like stockholders, the SEC, any of the filings, especially since they're a European-based company, they have to deal with the stockholders over in that area. They just named their first CEO in 12 years, Thomas Kogler. So that's part of the spinoff that he's going to be taking over his own company. The big thing about this breakoff is Asmodee will be inheriting a $900 million dollar debt. And so what's interesting about that is they're taking on all this debt. People are wondering, does that mean it's going to slow down their taking a big bite out of the board gaming world because they own a lot of companies. But Embracer has been struggling lately, the main parent company. So they're breaking off Asmodee. They've sold some rights that they've had, like Gearbox Studios, which was under the Embracer Group. They sold them off. I don't remember what company ended up picking them up. They also had some massive layoffs as well. Yep. So Asmodee becoming a separate entity, taking on this debt. Let's see if they can make it which is really interesting about this. Now that I mention it, because I remember in this article, Asmodee was their number one money getter outside of the
Right.
video games.
And a lot of the debt, I'm sorry to interrupt, a lot of the debt I heard was reported like they were actually profitable.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of the debt was put onto them.
Yep.
Because they were...
How profitable they were.
You know, I don't know how the financial sector works like that. Like when you have a multi-level, like business level like that, like debt can be borrowed from other companies you own to kind of manipulate it to help benefit others or pay off others.
Yeah.
And I get how... I can understand the idea of how that works.
Yep.
But the fact that they took Asmodee that was profitable, threw a bunch of debt on them, and then now they're like, all right, carry on, but
on your own,
you take nearly $1 billion of debt with you.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
But it's interesting to think because the year before the filing, Asmodee was showing a profit of $1.2 billion, and now they're taking on $900 million of euro debts. And 1.2 billion, I'm talking about euro. I'm not talking about American dollars. So much stronger, slightly dollar, but still, that is a ridiculous amount of money. But they're also taking on a ridiculous amount of debt. Hopefully, they stay strong. But it also can lead to. We've seen it before, Plaid Hat becoming a private company again. Maybe some of those companies that got swallowed up by Asmodee break off and start their own little thing.
Sure.
And so we'll see what happens there.
Yeah.
It's just interesting to know that Asmodee is becoming just a board gaming hobby again by themselves without a bigger umbrella on them right now. So we'll see what happens.
You know what might help them, and what I'm hoping helps them, is my last piece of news is that Asmodee just partnered with Lego, which is awesome.
I figured this was going to be on your list.
I had to talk about that because I grew up with Lego. You know, Lego is a big company. I know you're also a huge fan of Legos, right? No, I know you are. What do you got down there? Oh, yeah, okay.
I still got to do this.
Had it at the ready. Yeah, I love it. No, yeah, we're both big fans of Legos. I've always
My wife's a bigger
everything.
fan of Legos than I am.
That's true. I'm the biggest fan of Lego. Well, second now in my family.
I say your son?
Yeah, my son is probably a bigger fan of Legos than me. But I am a huge fan of Legos. And so much to the point that anytime I saw one of the Lego board games prior at thrift stores and stuff, I'd always pick them up. No matter how trash they were, because they were, right?
I do have one. I think it's
great.
in there.
Yeah, they weren't great. And
Harry Potter
played
one.
them. I've played them. They were fun.
Yeah.
If you like that style of game, it's just like roll and move stuff. But they did some interesting aspects.
Yeah.
But what's different about this? So the one I'm going to talk about, the one that they announced was Monkey Palace. And Monkey Palace is, they haven't announced who they're working with, but they're working with a slate of common board game designers to use Lego pieces and create games that are up to modern standards, right?
Have you not seen it?
I haven't seen who Monkey Palace is working with, or what designer.
There is a watch it played of how to do it. They said the designers. I didn't see their names. I can't remember their names.
Oh, really?
Yeah, there is a watch it played.
Let's look on the Board Game Geek real quick if you can't. Well, no, never mind. Don't worry about the tabs. We'll worry about that in a bit. But I'm very excited. Monkey Palace, Lego, and Asmodee.
Yeah, so it looks really interesting. The first game, I don't know. Like I said, I saw the watch it played. It's okay.
All right, so that was today's news. Now, let's get in to the big meat and potatoes of today's episode.
Alrighty.
Speaking of meat and potatoes, this guy, let me tell you, he apparently is 40 feet tall.
Oh, he's tall.
Yeah,
he's tall.
Massive.
I think he's 6'9", 6'10",
something like that. Yeah, he's a huge dude who plays a lot of board games.
Yep, and his birthday's actually coming up pretty soon. When this airs, it will be the 20 or the 16th. His birthday is on October 2nd.
So. Yeah. So Stefan Feld, when you watch our episode, we appreciate you. Happy birthday. Yeah, absolutely.
Notable games, that is a long list right there. He has a fantastic re-implementation of games, and he goes back and redesigns and does a lot of work on these games too.
Yeah, he does. So what was the first Stefan Feld game you noticed?
First Stefan Feld game I noticed, or the first one I ever played?
Either.
The same thing. Castles of Burgundy because of you.
Yeah, probably because of me. I think that's true for me too as well. I think Castles of Burgundy was my intro into his games. I remember it being rated so high. I remember hearing good things about it, and it came in a lot of the same style like Euro-y boxes that I was familiar with. Mm-hmm. So I was like, okay, I've heard good things about it. And I remember playing it and I was like, holy cow. This looks so complicated, yet it has simple choices, yet there's so much depth at the same time. The depth to complexity ratio is on point with how difficult it looks.
Yeah, it's the thing about Castles of Burgundy. It looks very intimidating.
It does,
because there's a lot of
really
moving parts. There's a lot of tiles. Unless you have the nice one, then they're acrylic tiles or castles.
That doesn't make it easy though, because every different building has a different ability.
Yeah, because it has all different abilities and stuff like that. So it is just a lot to look like it's going to grasp. But once you get going in the flow of things, you're like, oh, but if I use this worker, I can turn this. And I love the fact that it's like, I can turn this 1 into a 6 because all you're really using the dice for is workers in a sense.
Yeah.
And so if you want to use a worker at such and such power, doesn't really matter how you do it as long as you have the workers to mitigate it.
That's right.
And he was the first Euro designer, in all honesty, that really showed me how mitigation could be a very important part of Euros. You don't have what you need? Well, you can collect these things. We can help you get what you need later.
Right, because back in the day, and I'm sure we'll talk more about it with Castles of Burgundy, but one of the things that really impressed me about it is that a lot of times you would roll die, and depending on what you roll, that determines the outcome of what you're going to do. Higher roll tended to be better, right? Mm-hmm. Or sometimes smaller rolls, whatever. But this wasn't about that. The dice was just which of the 6 different options you had, and you still had 4 actions that were capable with those 6 options. Like a 6 could get me something from the 6th bay, or put something in a 6th spot on my board, or sell the number 6s of goods, or get me the 2 workers like any other number can.
Yeah.
That was elegant, and it wasn't like there was no such thing as a high number in that roll. It was all just one big circle, and which option you had. Which piece of the pie you could have. Hey, Masmo.
But yeah, so it's interesting. Again, we're both Feldians. We're big fans of Stefan Feld games. We own quite a bit of his games.
Yes, we do.
So we're getting into this. And who's going to start us?
Let's find out. Here we go.
It will be me. First game on our list here is Roma.
Probably one of the few that you haven't played.
I haven't played. I think I've played the second one. I have not played
Arena?
This one. Yeah. So Roma in a state of emergency. You're the Senate. This is a 2-player, right?
Yes, it's a 2-player only.
Yeah, so I think you're trying to control the Senate. Whoever, it's going to have unique card and dice plays. Mm-hmm. Dice stations numbered 1 through 6. I wonder where he got that from, or what else we're going to see that in. But you're using the dice roll to activate dice stations. To use that card has been placed in that station. Why does that sound familiar?
Now, what made this interesting is that, again, it goes back to the number didn't dictate how good something was. Right? Like, there was different levels to it, where there was different stations that you could utilize for that ability. Like, as you can see on here, they were basically like coasters. That just determined what kind of actions you were taking based on what cards were in front of it. You could try to control certain areas by using a die. You could try and manipulate it. But yeah, it was a really neat, interesting back and forth 2-player game. One that I like a lot.
Yeah, it looks interesting. Haven't played it. It's probably one that will not ever go into my collection, even if I'm collecting, because I don't play 2-player games in this household, because my wife refuses to play with me. But the next game on our list here is an interesting one, because neither one of us have played this. I don't think you have. I know I haven't.
I have not.
But we're getting a revamped version of it.
That's right. I'll talk about it. This is Rum and Pirates. Up until recently, this is, like, other than the reprint, of course, this was easily one of the hardest to find of his games. Mm-hmm. You can tell by that cover, like, I've never seen one of these in the wild, I don't believe. And when we looked at it last, it was like $300 to $400 or something on the secondhand market.
Yeah.
It was absolutely crazy. But it is getting reprinted into Nassau, which is coming out in the Stefan Feld City Collection. This one had little pirate miniatures of different colors. You're basically building paths from what it looked like. Let's go back to the mechanisms. Yeah, because I don't know much about it. So, action points, dice rolling, and modular board. All stuff we like from him. Mm-hmm. And it's a dice-based game. So, Rum Pirates really...
With miniatures.
Yeah. A simple movement and collection game known in German as blah, blah, blah. I can't read it anyway. The game was designed... Okay. We get it. Anyway, players take on the roles of freebooters who, back in their pirates' hideouts, spend their time with all kinds of competitions, drinking, fighting, etc. All players move through the main playing figure Oh, yeah. So you have a main figure, which is akin to something like Merlin, right?
Yeah.
You have one figure that everybody moves throughout the alleys of the village, and the goal is to gain as much rum and renown as possible. At 5 rounds, highly variable, yeah, and you just manipulate stuff. A lot of components, too. 76 figures, 200 tiles,
What's interesting?
one die.
What's interesting about this game? This is probably one of the most intriguing games to me. And out of the city collections, this is the one I really want to play the most because this is so outside of what he normally does. So that
Right.
one's interesting to me. There was only one other city collection game that I wanted to try because I never got to try the original because it's another one of those that was out of print
Yeah.
and was really expensive.
And one of the best parts about it is you could tell in German, Kinderspiel or Plexten or whatever.
Yeah.
2006, recommended for 8 to 13-year-olds as you're collecting rum.
Well,
Yay, Germany.
it's the
Hooray.
Euro countries. They're not as strict on alcohol usage as we are.
Sure. Yeah, it's just that just cracks me up. That's all.
All right, the next game on our list here is actually one of my favorite Feld games.
Yep.
I really want to play this more often.
Because you love the rats.
I love the rats.
Those rats are awesome.
This is Notre Dame. It's about building the Cathedral Notre Dame. What I like about it, too, is how modular that board is, depending
Yes.
on the player count.
Yeah, it's a cool system how
yeah.
it lays out.
And so the way this one works is that you're all
Oh,
playing
so that's
Parisians who wish to improve the importance and appearance of the city quarter around this famous cathedral. What I like about it is that the powers become more as you're going through the game.
Yeah.
I saw that. Yeah, so
Yeah.
more people are in a location, the more powerful they become. There's one of the first games that I ever saw do this aspect of it. And I like it. And as Masmo says, yes, pancake boards. Players, you're going to do it in 9 rounds. You're going to do it, but you got to make sure you're mitigating the rats out of there because those are going to be bad for you at the end of the game.
Yep.
Everything about this game I liked, including the component quality for a game as old as this is. I have the
Yeah.
10th anniversary edition. That's the specific copy I have that has the expansions. But yeah, I love the playing cards and stuff like that. Will tell you what action you're going to do, where you're going to place that worker, and what you can do based on that many workers in that location. But yeah, here's the pancake boards as he was talking about.
Yeah, so that it's really neat how it works. Like they all fit together based on the player count. Whether you have a triangle, whether you have a square or a pentagon in the middle,
Yeah.
with certain edges you align up with it, and the modular board actually fits in and works for that player count. That's just such a cool idea that I've not seen in almost any other game.
Yeah.
Other than that, but I also like the comment Masmo made. All roads lead to rum.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
Yep.
You would like a
I
pun.
would like that pun. Masmo, you keep them coming.
Wow.
All right, the next one we have is In the Year of the Dragon, one of his meanest games.
Oh, good lord.
Yeah, this game is awesome. I love this. And
I do like this a
I
lot.
don't think it's that mean. Like, everyone says how mean it is. Yes, all of the 9 tiles or whatever ages you're going through, 12 or 9 tiles. I forgot how many there is.
Yeah.
I'm sure it'll say here. Ba-ba-ba-ba-ba.
Disease, drought, and attacks, and there's 3 of each.
All right, so 9 tiles, yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, they're all terrible. But
They're terrible for everyone.
they're terrible for everyone, and you're going to know what's coming up. Like, that's all set up at the beginning. You have hand management, you're trying to manipulate these different things, and it's basically an I split you choose game, which is super awesome how it works. You have the different levels of where everybody's splitting, the different regions that you can go into, and what kind of actions you're allowed to take, and you choose which half you go into. Then you have to negotiate that portion of it. So if I go to one half and you and our friend Dom goes to the other one, then you guys have to deal with those actions where I'm dealing with the first half of the actions. I love it. Like, it's just
I
it's
dig this
super
game.
neat how it works, how you split it up, and how you choose who takes what actions. Then deal with the bad stuff. You're gonna have to deal with them anyway, and sometimes you'll just have to tuck your tail between your legs and run or whatever, or just deal with it, right?
Yeah.
And it works really well. I like it a lot. In the Year of the Dragon, yes. Awesome.
I do need to pick me up a copy of this one. It's one I've been looking for.
Yep.
I really do like this game a lot. It's mean. It is the meanest game, I think, out of all his lists, except for maybe one other one.
Yeah,
which
it's
we'll
the
get
game
into.
that fights back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's another one where the game fights back, which is this one.
Yes.
And then there's the other one where everybody's fighting each other, and we'll
Yes.
get into that later.
Right. That's right.
All right, so the next game on the list here is The Name of the Rose. This is one I'm actually not familiar with. I don't know if you're familiar with this one.
No.
So this one is a deduction game. Players are monks who are trying to collect as many suspicion points on other players as possible in order to figure out who the criminal is. The board shows several locations, each with 2 numbers, 2 through 6, chits in one of the 6 colors. There's 6 colored monks pieces, a Williams piece, and an Anson piece, all set up in different locations at the start. All monks start with 10 suspicion points and 5 clue points. Players are each randomly assigned 1 monk color, keep secret. Each player receives 3 cards which show either a monk, a location, or Williams and Anson, There are 7 rounds, which are days, each with 24 hours. Makes sense. Then players take turn playing cards. Monk cards, you move that monk to a different location. Location card, you can move any piece to that location, or the Williams Anson card, move either of those pieces to any other location. Cards also have numbers of 0 through 5. Add as many hours to the clock unless you spend previously collected chits to reduce the number by 1 per chit spent. So you're trying to manage the hours as well. When a monk is moved to a location, if there's no piece of their color, increase their suspicion by the sum of both chits present. If there is, take the chit and reduce the monk's suspicion by that score of numbers. If William moves to a location, you add or subtract 3 of the clues to the monks present there. And if Anson is moved there, you add or subtract 5 suspicion points. When the day ends, each player takes the event tile, clue points against the monk at the end of the game, convert suspicion clue points, ranking most 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and 0 clue points, ties generous, reset suspicion points to 10. After 7 days, players simultaneously guess which monk other players were assigned. For every correct guess, the player monk receives substantial additional clue points, number of points. The player with the fewest clue points wins.
And this wasn't ever remade, huh?
Yeah, I'm not seeing anything like right now. It might become one of the new city collections. You never know.
Eventually, it'll probably be like...
It looks really interesting because of the way... It's not social deduction, it's deduction, but you're still trying to figure out what the other player is. Right. And I like that aspect of it. Which
is pretty great. And Masmo, yeah, I mean, it's... You're right. India the Dragon isn't as mean, but yeah, this is super rare. How much is the copies being sold now? I can only imagine. We'll look in the aftermarket if there even is any.
Yeah, but, it's probably ridiculous.
Looks cool. I hope it's remade soon. Let's see if we can find some copies.
eBay apparently has 5 listings from about $25, but if you go to Noble Knights, they're selling it for $215. The Geek Market is selling it for €25, but this is the German edition, which is roughly about $30.
Yeah.
So it's not cheap by any means, and it doesn't look like it's a big box game either.
No, it really doesn't.
All right, your next one.
That's right. The next one is Treasure Chest. So this is an expansion.
Oh, I didn't even know that.
Yeah. This is an expansion for In the Year of the Dragon and other things like click 7 or the 7 more. This is a multi-pack expansions that Rio Grande Games came out with that has like new buildings for Puerto Rico, new buildings for San Juan, event cards for San Juan, stuff for Notre Dame in the Year of the Dragon. So yeah, it's one of those just like big expansion packs or whatever.
Yeah, because I ignored an expansion pack, that Alhambra expansion pack on this one. So here you go. You can do this one.
All right.
Which is a great game, by the way.
You and me have both played this one, right?
Yep.
All right.
I kicked your butt in this one.
Yeah, Pillars of the Earth Builders Duel. So let's talk about why this game is awesome. So you have a 3x3 grid. You have cards that you're trying to influence. Very simply, it's only a 2-player game. One player puts down their 3 seals in a row. Or a column, and then the other player responds to that by putting it into the opposite, whether it's row or column or diagonal. There's always going to be one card that is intersected by doing so, and that creates a conflict in that card, in which case you have to plan accordingly to hopefully beat them on that card. All of the cards have cool abilities. This is based off of the Pillars of the Earth book.
Yep.
This is, from what I understand,
and TV show as well.
Not very much based off of Pillars of the Earth, the board game. So keep that in mind.
Different designers too.
Man, dude, this game is so cool how it works. I love the cards that you're building. I love how you're trying to get the resources you need. There's multiple levels of resources. That interaction, that interactivity of how you're working and like the second player gets to respond on which one that they are working with or which one they're fighting against. But then you also have like the 2 coins that have different sides. Mm-hmm. Do you want to spend a 2-3 coin and guarantee like that you'll have at least 2, possibly a little bit more, or do you want to go for broke and go for the 5-0 and hope for the best that you get a 50-50 shot of having a good or a complete failure? I love that little simple concept of battling, right?
Yeah.
And it just works really well. I really, really recommend this. This is probably one of my more favorite of his games, actually.
It is a fantastic... It's probably my favorite of the 2 players I have played of his. Yeah. I think I've only played 1 or 2 of them, or 3 of them. I know another one we'll talk about later. I like this one a lot more than that other one, even though I do like that other one.
Oh, yeah.
Because of the context of it when we get to it. But this one, I don't know what was about this game, but it just clicked in my brain.
Sung.
Yeah, it's sung. You like to use this word a lot. This was a very elegant 2-player game.
And I love it when it gives you something really clever. That intersection that you cause always has conflict every round, but not so much conflict that it's like, oh, well, like one player could be at a complete loss.
And it always...
I love that
You
conflict.
Don't feel like you're getting hosed all the time. Yeah, it's a fantastic game. Yep. All right, the next game on the list here is Macau, which we have played...
The remake.
Sort of. And we'll get more into it in a little bit, but this is a very popular game out there where you're delivering goods and building the city in your tableau using Eunice dice selection method. Mm-hmm. We'll get more into it when we get into Amsterdam, because that's what it was remade of. Yep. This was Alea, and this is one of the games that Rio Grande brought over, right?
Yes.
Yep. I like how both of us look at the...
Yes. Allow me to confirm that. Thank you, Board Game Geek.
Yes. All right, so yes, so it is a good. You're trying to vie control and stuff like that based on how this works. But like I said, we're going to go into the bigger version, part of the city collection, the more streamlined, I want to say, issue.
Yep.
I like it. It's not my favorite of his system, though, out of all the stuff that he's done.
Agreed.
All right.
We'll jump back over to me. Arena Roma 2, yeah. I mean, this is, again, another sequel that you and I have both played.
Mm-hmm.
And, yeah, this was the one that I think you and I played. I don't think we played the first one.
We haven't played the first one. We played this one.
And so this is effectively the same game. In fact, they're actually compatible. You can actually use certain cards from either one. And, again, you heard what I was talking about for Roma.
It's the same thing.
Yeah, it's kind of the same thing, just with different cards, but it's effectively the same thing. And the way it's compatible is that either one side could use a deck from either of the versions, which is pretty cool. You're not going to be like cross-moginating the cards. You can just choose either one. But yeah, again, like the cards have a certain number of influence that means that you can use it. The other ones have abilities, and yeah, you're just vying for control over the areas.
Yeah, I remember playing this one. I don't think I beat you on this one. I know I beat you on the first one that we did, Pillars of the Earth one.
Yeah,
This one, I think you trounced me. So right now we're 2 for 2, or 1 for 1 on the 2-player games.
Yeah, right.
So I've never played this next game that's coming up, but you have, and you said this is one of the worst ones that you've ever played of Stefan Feld.
This is his worst. Hands
this
down.
is a children's game, if I remember correctly?
Sure.
It happens.
Yeah, it happens.
I'll let you go ahead and explain this, even though it's my turn, because you have played it and you know more about it.
Sure.
However, that looks inappropriate.
I mean, well, it's just a bone.
I know, it's a bone.
Sure. You're anteaters. You're trying to dig through holes. Here's the way this works, though. You roll some dice. I'm
an adult.
Calm yourself down. No. You, Anton the Adventurous Anteater, you have a row of cards that you're going to be filling with dice. Here's the thing. It says it's set collection. It says it's dice rolling. It is incredibly random. Each card, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, has to be a higher number than the previous, or you have to be decreasing in the numbers. And there's times where whoever has the most dice on there will get 6 points. Second most gets 3. Anybody who has at least 3 dice get a worm or something. It wasn't good, guys. It really wasn't, because you're trying to you have to put your dice on the cards, and they can only go in decreasing order, and the column you put it in, like you can see right here, the 6 and the 5 red. Yeah, I mean that's how that kind of works, but there's ways to kind of maneuver it. Like, you're only allowed 1 column each. It just wasn't good. It wasn't fun. It was... I keep it because it's Stefan Feld.
It's Stefan Feld, yeah.
And I will never get rid of it. But, I mean, like, let's look at the reviews real quick. Like, I'm sure it has been multiple years since I've played it. And now, this was a disappointment.
It's got a 6.2, so...
Sure. Which, I mean, granted, for Stefan Feld, that's trash.
Trash, yeah.
But look at the comments. Like, let's see what it says.
Where's the comments at?
Right up here. Yeah.
There it is.
Oh, that was ratings. But yeah, it'll have some comments
Oh, I'm
on
sorry.
No, it's okay. It's all right. Right? It's fine.
I thought it was like a long link together.
No. Well, I mean, yeah, you can still see
it still says rating and comments, so I'm not wrong.
These are just specifically the ratings. So scrolling down. Yeah, 4, kids game. One person says 10, didn't specify why. Feels like a Rudiger
No, he
Vegas.
did. Used.
Yeah, sure. Nice familiar, kind of like a Vegas. I don't think that's a fair
comparison.
No, it wasn't that good.
Yeah, try to read that one.
Sure. Nothing special, but solid enough dice game.
Not that one.
Came free with a Kickstarter I backed. Yeah, same here actually. Sell, yeah.
Yeah, so
solid 5s throughout most of these.
Yeah, so and I think that's just because of the name too.
You know, I mean, I'm okay with silly, ridiculous names and themes.
No, I'm saying the designer name. That's probably
sure.
why. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so the next game on our list here is Spiel mit Lucas Dribble Fieber.
Which is one that I really do want to find a copy of.
This is the soccer one, right?
Yes.
It's a board game about street soccer. 2 players have a football team of 5 persons. Drawing cards and managing the hand are the way to success. Games will have inbuilt easy-to-go game. For a couple entering into the game mechanics, this game is part of the Lucas Podolsky game series. It's intriguing. I do enjoy soccer or football, as it's called the rest of the world.
Yep. One of his co-designs, too, nonetheless.
Yeah, and it looks really intriguing. I wish I could find a copy. The aftermarket for this game, last time I checked, was ridiculous.
Yep.
Not too bad on the Euro side, but you're having to import. English side, a game I think is supposed to be like $30. They're running for $60 on the English side,
yeah.
So... For a 2-player game, it looks interesting, though.
I mean, I probably would just because, right?
All right, moving on.
But it could be another... It happens. All right, the Spikerstadt. Again, we have played this technically.
Yes. Not this version. We'll get into the other version. But I wanted to talk about like how he's reprinting these things and stuff like that. Because he is a notorious reprinter with new themes on his games.
So this is an auction game. I do want to be clear that this also has an expansion too, and in the remake it combines both the base and the expansion.
Yep.
So this works really well. You're just trying to build towers of cards, and the way it works is each card is left out, and you take turns adding a piece to one of the columns. Basically, at the end of it, whoever has the most meeples in that column will be the one who gets the card. However, if there's a tie, it's whoever is highest up. That's totally not how that works. Everybody's given an option to buy the card for the number 1 coin per meeple that's in that column. My apologies. So his first column, there's 3 meeples. Purple has the first option. Mm-hmm. They have to pay 3 coins to buy that card. If they pass, they take their meeple off. Then orange has the option, but then now it's only 2.
Yep.
If they don't want it, then they come off. And then white can buy it for 1. Orange just automatically gets it for 1. Blue in that next column is 3, etc., so on and so forth. Very simple system. Each of those cards gives you goods of different kinds. You're trying to ship them for points. Some will give you extra money. Some will let you sell the goods for money to help buy later on. Game, continue. Yeah. And the expansion makes it really great too. That adds just basically another option of stuff that's available. Mm-hmm. And you put out another meeple out there, and then you can buy any of the 1 available cards of the row. Yeah. So it's kind of like this, except you're not bidding for the column. You're just building as a general pool.
Yeah. For an economic game, I'm not a huge economic game person. And it's not a true economic. You're not up and raising prices and stuff like that. Right. But this one has that economic feel. It is auction. It's action, bidding, set collection kind of stuff.
Sure.
I haven't played this version. I played the newer version, which we'll get to in a little bit. But I have to say, this was one of the games I was hunting. Not this one specifically, but the reprint of it.
Jorvik. Mm-hmm.
My wife was able to pick me up a copy of that when she was on a trip. It was one of those out-of-print ones, so you couldn't find it, and it was ridiculously aftermarket. She found it for like $40.
Yeah, very reasonable cost for it. Yeah.
All right, so the next game on the list, we hinted at it earlier. This is Stefan Feld's Mean Game. I have not played this one specifically, but everything I've heard in reviews on this one, this is his meanest game. Luna impressed the Moon Priestess by sending novices to the Holy Isles surrounding the temple. In this one, players move their novices over the 7 islands surrounding a temple island. The novices are placed according to the worker movement principle. They aren't placed at the beginning of the round, but instead start where they ended the round before. Thus, novice movement is an important part of a round. Only if you're in the right place at the right time will you gain the deciding influence points. You have to build new shrines, work at a temple, and participate in priestess divine services. But don't forget to recruit additional novices or win the favor of the local priests. These are vital means to prepare and combine the diverse actions. It's a tactical game with strategic and interactive elements that takes about 20 to 45 minutes per player. So a 4-player game should take about an hour and a half, give or take. And if you're teaching to new players, give it about 3 hours.
Yeah, realistically, yeah.
The different placement of the islands and novices are at the beginning of the game creates a different feeling each time you play and open new strategies.
Mm-hmm.
I want to try this one. It looks really neat, but I just can't find a copy really realistically priced.
Yeah, I really enjoy this one. And so does our viewer Masmo. Very different than what he normally does. And that's very true. It feels different. The way that you're placing your pieces out. It's kind of worker placement-esque, but as with all of his games, there's a cool twist to it.
Yeah.
It works incredibly well. You're trying to go to the different islands in different ways. You're kind of vying for majority, but at the same time, you're also trying to manipulate the board as best as you can. Or not manipulate it, but just utilize it as best as you can for the actions given. It has been a while since I played it, so I don't remember it fully. But yeah, I remember one of my favorite parts is this track of tiles, which is hard to see here. That is effectively how you're getting some of your points by moving up that track. But you have to be able to fulfill it, and if somebody takes it, they basically take away that victory point spot.
Yeah.
Which is really cool. I like that a lot.
No, I want to try this one. I've heard really good things about it. I also got to it's one of those games that I have to be careful with.
Sure.
Because my wife is not a fan of games that really can screw her over type situation. And so that's what I've heard about this one. It can be a little, not really take that-y, but you are affecting what happens to other people. Yeah. And so she doesn't care much for that. She gets very competitive. If someone takes away points from her, it gets dangerous.
Oh, yeah. I can only imagine. No, this one's cool.
Oh, here we go. The big one.
All right. This is my turn, isn't it?
Yep.
All right. So you and I hate to say it, it's spoiler, but we have both played this.
We talked about it at the beginning of the thing.
Yeah. It's...
You're way ahead of me on this one. I think you have, 2 ahead of me? 3?
I'm 3 ahead of you right now. So.
That's what I thought.
But I don't think there's been any that you've played that I haven't.
Yeah.
Yet. So
I don't think there ever is going to be.
I don't think so either, but there's, let's see here, 9. So we've talked about 12 games so far.
Yep.
Okay. So Castles of Burgundy. Oh my God.
What is there to say that hasn't already been said about this game? Let's
be real. Any of our listeners, if they haven't heard of Castles of Burgundy yet, go watch the million other reviews on it. We're not going to say much about it. It's a really smart system. It
Until
works
we
really
get to
well.
a specific product.
Oh, I'm sure we'll talk about the fancy versions because you like to flex and stuff. And yes, I had to finish my backer kit for that. But yeah, no, God, this game is so good. 25 turns.
As I was going through all this and I was thinking about all the games that he's done.
Yes.
Even though I really like some of his other games, this still just sits on the top for me.
Yeah. It hits different.
Yeah.
It really does. Yeah, Castle of Burgundy, it's amazing. I'm not even going to talk a lot about it, just because it's really simple.
One major gripe I had of this game, and this is just because of the company, Alea. They have a tendency to really screw players over that are colorblind.
Yes.
And so one thing I do like about the new special edition that came out, they changed the color of the castles to burgundy.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they're kind of burgundy on that tile amongst the dark green tile part of it. Yeah, so that's a thing.
Yeah, but yeah, Castles of Burgundy, fantastic game.
Yes.
All right, next game on our list here is Strasbourg. I have not played this one.
Neither have I.
Strasbourg in the 15th century, the political skills of the city are heavily influenced by craftsmen guilds. In this time, players take on the lead of ascending families of the city. It is your goal to place family members in different guilds. Only the clever usage of influence point makes it possible to accommodate as apprentice, assistant, or even master craftsman. Easy to learn strategy game with invented mechanisms that provide the player with lots of room for decisions, but only those that also keep an eye on the plans of the other players will earn the highest fame. And it's not really implemented by anything either.
Nope. This is one that unfortunately will not, or probably will not, anytime soon.
I'm hoping, like Masmos is saying over here, is part of the City Collection. They've announced 20 games, and a lot of them are reprints of something. So I'm hoping it's this one.
It might come back as Valencia. Okay.
Valencia is the next one is going to be, or the next one just announced. So I'm hoping, because that's going to make me want to back it.
Okay.
This one looks interesting.
Let's think about this for a minute. Let's just look at the mechanisms. Okay, so you're influencing guild, right?
Mm-hmm.
You take the lead of ascending families from the city. It's your goal. Family members, different guilds. Okay, cool. Use clever usage of influence points to make it possible to accommodate apprentices and even master craftsmen. Okay. Provided that you can pay the admission fee, but don't underestimate the power of the church and nobility. Okay, cool. Easy learning strategy games. All right, what's the mechanisms? We got area majority. Yeah, I'm out. No. Auction once around, auction
tile
bidding,
placement.
pattern, tile building. Okay, cool. Let's just remember that when we talk about Valencia later.
Valencia is not even on Board Game Geek yet.
Let's just keep that in mind.
I'm just saying, it's not on BGG yet. I think the last one is the last two that just are supposed to be coming out.
So we'll just have to remember it's a weird grid of like colorful tiles.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, so the next game I get to talk about is another one that I always go back and forth with. Do I like it more than Castles of Burgundy? And as of right now, I don't, but I really do dig this one. This is my second favorite Feld. This is like 1B to the 1A of Castles of Burgundy. Yeah. This is Trajan. This is a heavier Euro-style game compared to some of the other Felds that we've talked about where it's just not as heavy. And I like it because there's a rondelle in it. The big part of it, too, is you're playing in like 3 or 4 different fields of the game. And this is the true epitome at a point salad at its heaviest. Yep. Because on the map, you have like a little area control where you're using the military might of your generals and stuff like that.
Yep.
In the middle of the map, I think you're just gathering resources and going to the market and stuff like that. In the bottom of the map, you're controlling the Senate. So you're playing these 3 games, and it's one of those games that you need to master one of these because you can't be a jack of all trade, master of none. Right. You're not going to be very good at this game. My wife has kicked my butt multiple times in this game because she masters in one of the sections each time. First time we ever played this, she mastered in the military. Destroyed us on the military action. Yep. The last time was actually she mastered in the Senate and did really well in there. So, like, my wife just rocks this game, and I'm just like, but it's set in the ancient Rome period of Trajan. Is a development game in which players are increasing their influence and power in various areas of Roman life. Like I was saying earlier, you're trying to influence political, trading, and military in their 3 different dominions. You're using a Mancala rondelle type action, so a player has 6 possible actions: building, trading, taking tiles from the forum, using the military, influencing the Senate, and placing Trajan tiles on the tableau. Each player has 2 different color pieces in each of the 6 sections of the bowls. On a turn, the player picks up all the pieces in one bowl and distributes them one by one into the bowl's clockwise order. Wherever the final piece is placed, the player takes the action associated with that bowl. In addition, if the colored pieces is that bowl matches the color shown on the Trajan tile next to the bowl, then the player takes an additional action shown on that tile. And you're just doing this to acquire victory points as you're going out. Here's the rondelle I was telling you about. This is also, I believe, if I remember correctly, this is the countdown, the timer here. So once we're done with a round, it moves to here, and so forth. And you're just moving these around, and it's telling you this is where you're going to do this action, this is where you're going to do this action, and so forth. This is a fantastic game. Very heavy. Let me give you a picture of the board as best I can. So this is what is this part? I can't remember what this one is.
That's the Trajan
tiles. That's the Trajan tiles.
You're trying to get those specific pieces in the Trajan spot when you activate it.
Yeah, this is the market. This is, I believe, the Senate area over here. And then, of course, this is the map that I was talking about up in this area.
Yeah.
And so you're just getting your points however you want to do. This is a fantastic game.
Cool.
All right, moving on to the next one. We have played this one, but the new version.
We played Rialto, remade into New York City. Let's put that in there. Boom. 15 games so far. All right. Yeah. Rialto re-implemented in New York City. Very simple, like area majority one kind of game.
Yeah.
Where each of the different boroughs of New York gets scored in different rounds. Only certain ones will score majority, and you're basically trying to build the bridges between them to score in different ways.
And it's 3 phases, so you're getting cards, playing cards, and activating buildings.
Yeah, exactly. And it's actually one of his lightest of all the games. It is an area majority, which is why I did terrible at it.
Ain't that the truth?
Yeah, the card manipulation is really cool in this. Activate the buildings, use their advantages. Each building type has a different action that you can take with it, which lets you control in different ways. I like it a lot. Yeah, this one's cool.
All right, so the next game we're going to be talking about is one we both played, and we actually played this version of it.
Yes.
This is Bora Bora.
That's right.
It's
my copy.
Yeah, it's re-implemented in Cusco, which I have not played the new version yet. We have played this one, and it's by playing this one made me realize I am going to back for Cusco because I really do like this game. Mm-hmm. And it is a dice rolling, set collection, worker placement. You're just building out the islands. You're using dice to perform a variety of actions, tactical planning.
I've never seen that before.
Oh, yeah. The heart of the game is action resolution system in which 5 to 7 actions are available each round, the exact number depending on the number of players. Each player rolls 3 dice at the start of the round, then they take turns placing 1 die at a time on one action. Place a higher number on an action, you generally get a better version of that action, more places to build, more choices of people to take, better positioning on the temple track, and so forth. Placing a low number, you'll get a worse action, but you'll possibly block other players from taking that action at all. In order to take an action, you must place a die on it. With a lower number than any die already in that action space. So if I put a 1 on a section, I basically block you off.
Yep.
3 task tiles, player's individual game board, provide some direction to what might need to be done. Yeah, this is a beautiful looking game for one thing.
Yeah, for a layout, it's really pretty actually.
Yeah. I remember the little islands and trying to, bridge and, build up there, and you kept blocking me off, and it kept frustrating me because when it comes to rolling dice for this guy, he's very consistent with his bad rolling.
Yeah.
Very consistent with his bad rolling. And so because you have to place a lower die, it was a bit rough, but I do like this game. I want to try Cusco, see how it differentiates, but it's a fantastic game.
Yeah, it really is.
I heard that there isn't a significant rule change in Cusco, so I don't blame you on that one. I don't have a lot of these older Leia games, and so I've kept my Castles of Burgundy even though I got the new reprint of it. I've kept La Isla even though I got the new version of it, because I just think they're fine games for what they are. I like the theme of La Isla more than I like
whatever it was remade into.
Venice, I think, or something like that.
Something like that.
It's a spy theme rather than exploration. So yeah. Speaking of which,
any games with dodos in it.
Vienna, thank you. Yeah. Another one we have played. Haven't played the original version. Have played the reprint.
That's right.
This one's you.
All right. This is Bruges. Re-implemented into Hamburg. I don't remember much of this. I do remember playing it.
Multi-use cards.
Multi-use card. That limits it down. No. Although, pull up that picture, because that's great. That is ridiculous, of all the different cards that are just laid out beautifully on that table. That's awesome. So ridiculous. But yeah, you're basically trying to gain area control in a way. If I remember correctly. Let's bring it on down so I can read this instead of talking and trying to remember. Players assume the roles of merchants who must try to maintain their relationships from those in power in the city while competing against one another for influence, power, and status. Dramatic events cast their shadows over the cities, with players needing to worry about the threats of their prosperity from more than just their opponents. 168 character cards, each one having 1 of 5 colors. On a turn, players choose 1 card from their hand as an action, with 6 different actions being available. Take workers, take money, mitigate, a threat, build a canal, build a house, or hire a character depicted on the card. In principle, every card can be used for every action, which is crazy. But the color of the card determines which area it can be used, the strength of the chosen action. Meaning blue cards provide blue workers, and red cards help mitigate red threats, etc.
Mm-hmm.
All the actions are geared towards gathering prestige, and the one with the most prestige, merchant, is the winner at the end.
So I know the difference between this one, the main difference between this one and Hamburg is that instead of 2 decks of cards, you have 5 different decks, and it's all colored based.
Yes.
This one, you intermix them all in your blind draw.
Yes.
In the other game, you get to decide which card or which deck you're going to draw from.
And I remember that. And I remember there was also that following mechanism, kind of, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is like you could play a certain color card, and we would have the ability to kind of like follow in suit if we wanted to.
Yeah.
Turning it into essentially a trick-taking game. No, that's not. It really isn't.
This right here is the reason why I like the new version better. Because
Although I don't like the grid in the middle of the new version.
Yeah, and it's more so because of the expansions and stuff like that. Yeah. It's just this board is one of Alea's worst. I think this is Alea.
Looks like it.
Oh, Z-Man.
Interesting. Good job, Z-Man. It's ugly as sin.
Yeah, it's bad. But I do like the new version of this game. It's probably one of my favorite Feld games, so there's that. But speaking of one of our favorite Feld games, Amerigo. Discover islands, build settlements, and uncover goods and treasures. And the big part of this game, why I like it, is this cube tower right here. Because you're going to be dropping cubes into that tower, and what comes out are basically the actions that everybody can get to do.
Yep, and the more actions of a certain color, the better the action.
The more color of those, the better the action can be.
Yeah, this one was great.
This is a fantastic game. In fact, there was a point where you brought it over, we played it, and both Dammit Dom and myself were hunting this game down.
Yeah.
Dammit Dom was able to get it on one of our Bookman runs. I had to go and order it off a Noble Knight because it's just one of those games, and it's so good. In fact, this is probably one of the best looking Queen games, if I remember. Yep, it's a Queen game. So,
although the board isn't great because of the layout of the islands. Now, you had to do what you had to do, but it's just when it's laid out, it's like, man, those are some janky looking islands.
So there's 7 actions, if I remember correctly, because of the 7 colors. There's black, which are like the bombing or the cannons and stuff like that. The blues, I don't remember exactly what they do.
It's like sailing or something.
So the blue has their own action, white has their own action, and stuff like that. And so they have the action spaces covered up. But depending on the resources that come out of the cube tower, depends on how that action is going to work well. And everybody gets to take the same amount of actions, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, so whichever one comes up the fewest, in this example, like the white, it's either the fewest or the most, but that was the fewest. No, it's the most, right? It can be up to 7. So that determines how many actions of each color you can take.
Yep.
So whichever one the most comes up of the actions that came up available.
Yeah, so I dig this game. It is a fantastic game. Mm-hmm. In his first with a cube tower, we're going to be talking about another one here in a little bit.
That's right. Speaking of La Isla, we brought it up earlier. Yeah, this one, I like this theme actually quite a bit better as well. Basically, completely out of nowhere, scientists found this island, and they're totally not trapping the animals that are there. They are just studying them. That's all. Definitely not using them as food. But there are 5 different species of previously extinct animals, or thought to be extinct animals like dodos and etc. And you are out there studying these. Okay, I'll stop doing that. Basically, you're using these animals, tagging them, and trying to figure out more information about them. It's kind of in a weird way an area control and stock market game, as weird as that sounds.
Yeah.
Commodity speculation is how it describes it there. Basically, you can manipulate how many points each of these different types of animals are worth
based on
at
research
the end of the
and
game.
stuff like
Yeah,
that.
based on the research and how it's manipulated. What I really like about this is how the island ends up looking because of the modular tiles. They're really strange looking, but they do fit together really well. They're kind of like a weird, like Z-shaped, like polygon thing. And it's just super cool how the actions lay out. And I think Vienna has a stated board, like a board that doesn't modulate.
Yeah, which is sad, but I do like the theme on this one. I still want to try see if this. Yeah, you see how it's kind of these weird shapes here. This is before it gets punched out.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I haven't played my copy of Vienna yet. I haven't played La Isla in a while either. So.
Oh, but let me explain like how the cards work though, because this is the interesting part. And even though like it's been so long since I played it, I remember this very distinctly. You have a card that has 3 different levels on it, and you have a board that has A, B, C, and D. C is set in stone, like it's just like kind of how many cards you draw or something like that. But you put one card, you draw 3 cards. You put 1 in the A, 1 in the B, and 1 in the D spot. And that determines the actions you're going to be taking throughout that round.
Yep.
So, and that's so you have 3 cards to figure out the 3 different actions. So you're figuring out, all right, if I use the top part of this card as the A action, how am I going to use B and D on these other 2? Well, I really got to use this one for D, so maybe this will be B, but maybe it'd be beneficial if I manipulate it. I love that system. It's so good.
It's a good system. Like I said, I don't know if Vienna's a better game. I dig La Isla a lot.
Right.
It's another one of those Feld games that I cannot be my wife in. She kicks my butt every time we play this one.
Oh, sure. Yeah, that's expected.
All right, so the next game on our list here is Aquasphere. And what's interesting about this specific game, this is probably my hidden gem of Stefan Feld games.
Yeah.
I really dug this one.
A lot of people say that they don't like this, and it's not as well regarded as a lot of his. This one, we had a blast with.
I really enjoyed this one.
Yeah.
It is a programming game in a sense. So what you're going to do is you're going to use your engineers at the headquarters to program a bot. Each round you can choose from 3 of the 7 actions. Have your scientists bring a bot to a sector to perform an action. Through actions such as improving your lab, sending out submarines, collect crystals, examine octopi is what it should say. You can expand the abilities of your team or gather knowledge points, which are necessary to win. Additional challenges result from limited size of your labs, which is your personal stock. You can increase the size of your lab, which makes life easier, but this costs valuable time.
Yep.
And what it says here is a challenging game of strategy tactics with different paths to victory that require planning in advance. And that is true. It is one of his heavier games, and I think that's part of the reason why people don't really enjoy this one as much, because you have to really think out your programming and stuff like that.
Right, you're thinking your actions 2 or 3 turns ahead at least.
Yeah, no, but this is a fantastic game. I enjoyed the mess out of it. So much so, after we played it, I found a copy and I picked myself up one on a Bookman's Run. I do really enjoy this one. And this is the where you're moving your submarine. You're trying to fill up these spaces as well.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I dig the mess out of this game. So, what does it say here? Octopodes. Actually, octopus is of Latin origin. Yeah, so... Hold on.
So you don't change it to octopi. Octopieces. There we go. All right. Oracle of Delphi. Now this one. So I know. Like, did you play this one? I don't remember.
Yeah, I beat you in this one.
Okay.
This is a race game.
Yeah, this one is a very different game. Right?
It really is.
So. I'm just going to read it. Normally I would describe it. I'm just going to... Yeah, it's essentially a pick up and deliver, right? You're moving across the modular board, trying to get their goods to where they got to go. That sounds all simple and happy and fine. But it's not that simple. So, in Stefan Feld's new game, Oracle of Delphi, players ship... I'm skipping a lot of the theming because, let's be real, it doesn't matter.
Not really themed there.
Yeah. The players ships travel across large variable game board of hexagonal tiles showing islands and surrounding waters. Each player aims to reach a certain island to perform the 12 tasks given by Zeus to collect offerings of different colors, to deliver them to the corresponding temples, or slay monsters to a specific type and color, all which can be discovered on the islands. In order to execute these color-dependent actions, you are given 3 colored dice each turn. These so-called oracle dice, rolling the dice at the start of the turn is equivalent to consulting the oracle, whereas the results represent her answers. The answers determine which actions you will be able to take, but you will always have 3 actions per turn. However, dice is action. Anyway, however, with a slight divergent of your fate is possible. So basically, you can manipulate the dice. In addition to the Oracle, you can request support from the gods that you can or you can acquire favor tokens, companions, and other special abilities to help you race against the other competitors. Different equipped ships and variable setup, the board will offer new, challenging, and interesting strategic tactical decisions with every new play of Oracle of Delphi. I really enjoyed this.
I like this game. It's so different than what you get from Feld.
It really is, yeah.
So here's like a player board, and so you're trying to move up the tracks to get the favor of that certain god.
Yeah.
These are the dice that you're going to be moving around and rolling, and it's going to determine your actions. Yep. These are your temples that you're trying to get out there.
Mm-hmm.
And all you're trying to do is make it to the center of the board, if I remember correctly.
Well, I mean, you're trying to like maneuver around, pick up certain colored cubes, bring them to wherever they
need to
go. Or
fight monsters.
Fight monsters, which there's a combat mechanism for dice rolling, which is weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's effectively just to pick up and deliver. But as you're doing it, I like this little system. There's 7 different actions that you can take, or 6 different actions you can take based on the dice rolling.
Yeah,
and you can actually use it to move those dice around the board.
You need to return to Zeus, who I remember what I think.
Right. Yeah, you have to still do the 12 tasks.
Yeah.
And then return to Zeus, which is normally like 3 different versions of like 4 tasks or something, or like 2 versions of 6 different tasks, something to that effect.
I remember when we were playing this, it was actually it was down to the wire, really, because I think you had just gotten your last one, and I need to get the perfect movement roll to get to Zeus, because I had just finished my 3rd. You're about to get your final one, and I needed to get the perfect movement to get into where I needed to be.
Right, exactly.
But no, I dug this one. I really do enjoy it. And it's funny, I picked up this one in the last game we talked about, the Aquasphere, at the same time, because they were on one of our bookman runs.
Right.
All right. I think I accidentally... Yep.
Jumped ahead. There you go.
Hey, Jorvik. We just talked about it earlier, the Spiel whatever.
Speicherstadt.
Speicherstadt. And this is the one that I have. I really do enjoy this version. For one thing, I love historical theme games. And Jorvik is a very, not thematic game, but is a historical thing. It was a Roman city in the UK. But it's a fantastic game, as we mentioned earlier. I like the artwork better on this one. I like the fact that they integrated the expansion to this one, so you have the 2 areas that you're doing the little comboing on.
Yeah.
I love the little auction bidding, and you're trying to think like, I really don't need this card, but I know he does. So let me put my piece over there, because even if I don't need the card, it's going to help me do something.
Yes.
And if I can get it for a coin, or I can make him spin 3 coins on this one, because you have to go in a certain order. Therefore, I could make this better for me later on, because if he's going to spend all his coins here, he's not going to have money for over here.
Right.
So it's kind of that little push and pull aspect of this game. I love the artwork on this one. I don't understand why it's so rated low. I do dig the mess out of this one. It
really shouldn't be. But this is almost like the weight of like a more difficult or more involved Phil Walker Harding game.
Yeah.
Like, it's actually really simple.
It's simple, yeah.
Yeah. And that auctioning mechanism or the bidding system is really smart. Like, you might go to a card because you need a good deal on it, or you might get, like, because you want to get there early so you have an opportunity to buy it and so nobody else does, or you might jump behind somebody to kind of force them out of it, which is awesome. It works so well. Masmo, if you haven't played it, I do highly recommend this one. This one is probably in the top 10 of his that I played.
Yeah, I really do enjoy this one. So the next one we like a lot.
Yes.
I don't think you own this one yet.
I do.
Oh, you do own it, yeah.
I do, yeah. So this one is Merlin. So, yeah, I bought it, like, about half a year after you did. You know, there was a long period of time where you owned it, and I didn't, and I finally got a copy of it. Yeah, it's roll and move.
He turned roll and move to an actual good game.
It's a roll and move.
Heavy, because it's just where everything...
So, but he did a really smart system. A way to make roll and move good is by giving players lots of options of what pieces to move based on the roll. And what he did is you have a Merlin piece, you have your pieces that are surrounding a rondel. They only move in one direction, except for the Merlin piece, which can go in the opposite direction. Again, the spaces that you land on, or whichever one you move Merlin to, you take that action. So you roll some dice, move them accordingly, take the actions, all sorts of different things. The only thing I don't like about this game is that that board over yonder.
Yes.
It just seems odd and not
It is.
well.
It's confusing how it works.
It's confusing how it worked. I remember that. That was the hardest part for me to wrap myself around. But each of the different sectors of that board have a different action. You can manipulate your board, get better shields, get better actions to help you manipulate the dice more, and score points in different ways. Again, pointsality, but that roll and move mechanism, he did it well.
Yeah, and Masmo says he's played it twice. He's not a real big fan of it. I do enjoy this one a lot.
Yeah, I can get that.
Yeah, it's probably middle of the road for me, but I do enjoy it. I want to try it with some of the expansions. I heard the Arthur expansion really makes it sing. So
some of the best art in a Stefan Feld game, too.
Yeah, especially for Queen.
Yeah.
All right, the next one on our list here is probably one of my biggest disappointments in Stefan Feld games.
So I really like this one.
I was really hyped for this one, but it didn't seem to me like some of the other ones do. It just feels like it's a poor man's Trajan almost. Forum Trajanum.
Well, I mean, yeah, it's kind of building off of the name there.
Yeah. Each player is governing a colony founded by Trajan himself, and thus is the head of one of the highest ranking cities in the entire Roman Empire. While the players try to optimally develop their own colonia, you should not fall into support of the emperor's buildings, projects, to the best of their abilities. At the same time, the players who's the most successful in doing so, after the time limit of their term of office, be admitted to the small circle of illustrious and mighty personalities surrounding the emperor. It's interesting. I like what it does, and honestly, I'll pick it up for what it is, but it didn't really grab me, and I figured it's kind of a take off of Trajan. If out of choose the two, I'd play Trajan over this one.
I don't think that's a fair comparison. I think the only thing that has similarity is the name. Like, that's really all it is. Is the theme is whatever. This is a track game.
I like this part.
You're moving the track, and I love track games now. Like, this was one of the first ones I've seen.
I dig track games. This one just doesn't
where
enjoy.
You put on the track, it just works for me. Me and Masmo are on the same page. Yeah, there's just something about this one that just works really well. And there's a whole system of different actions you can take that's over there on the left side of the board, and you're just trying to fill in each of your boards. It has been a long time since I played it, but man, I would play this again in a heartbeat.
Yeah,
easily.
I'll pick it up just to have it in my and I have no problem playing it. It just, out of all the games, this is probably my biggest disappointment. My letdown of all the stuff on Felds that I've played. Yeah, speaking of
Carpe Diem. So, first off, I chuckle to myself because I actually really like this game. I think it's a smart little system. It's tile laying, which I've always been a fan of. You're trying to fulfill rows and columns of certain types of tiles in order to score points for them. The drafting mechanism is really simple. The only bad part about it, first off, it's ugly as all get out. It's one of the worst looking games.
Not very colorblind friendly.
The first two versions of this was incredibly difficult to use. Secondly, the production issue on the board, I don't consider it that big of an issue. It doesn't bother me personally, but it has this like 7-point star system, and what you do is you move your piece to one of the other two spaces on the opposite side of the board.
So this blue would go to either this location or this
that location. Now, and there's sometimes where you can pay to stay in your spot, but rarely, if ever. Now, or not. I'm sorry, not stay in your spot, but bounce again to another one. Here's the thing with it. They've found mathematically that is literally the exact same thing as just going left or right.
Yeah.
Clockwise or counterclockwise. So, because of that, their later versions, they ended up just taking that star out and just going, okay, you can just move left or right. Because they proved mathematically it's literally the exact same thing. But here's the thing. That never bothered me. The star was fine. I was fine with the star. But a lot of the complaints... Yep. And so was Feld, right? Ooh, more mystical. Yeah, okay. He liked it too. No, but here's the thing, right? Like, the problem I had with it is that the way that the tiles matched up like that, there was some that were incredibly not colorblind friendly. And they tried to, like color the tiles, like, on the top of the roofs to be a certain type of thing, but it was just really unpleasant, and the way certain tiles fit together didn't always work very well.
Yeah.
Even though theoretically they should have worked. I still really like the game.
I love the game.
Get why that's
people
an
had
issue.
issues. Yeah, this was my biggest issue with this game was the colorblind unfriendliness that it had. I have this specific version, which is so much better compared to the other versions that I've seen of this game. The only difference between the first and second edition, in a sense, was they took the star away. This one actually changed the tile colors, make it more readable. Plus, it took away the star as well.
Yep.
Yeah, and the new version, all players have the shovel setup. Yeah. But yeah, I did like this one. It did get a Kinderspiel nominee in 2019 because of how good it was.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's still a really good game.
Are you still keeping track of how many we've played?
Yep.
All right, so the next one we both have played. In fact, we played it against each other. Revolution 1828.
Yes.
This is based on one of the worst presidential campaigns in the history of presidential
one
campaigns.
of the most contentious. Yeah.
This was basically the advent of mudslinging.
Yeah.
It's a little push and pull aspect where you're going up against, and I'm trying to remember which two. It's Jackson, Adams and Jackson. Yeah.
Yep.
And they're going up against each other for the presidential race, and they're bad talking each other.
Yeah, they're slandering the crap out of each other.
And so the way it works is you're trying to push and pull this section over here, trying to get as many of the votes as you can. But if you push it too much to the other player, they actually have to take a slander. Or if you pull it too much to yourself. So sometimes it's like, I'm not doing really well over here, I'll take the slander over here, that's fine. Because I'm beating you on these other aspects of this part of the game. And so that little push and pull, I really like that little tug-of-war. This is one of the few tug-of-war games I've really enjoyed.
Which, historically, you've been pretty against tug-of-war games. Yeah.
And so this is one of the few ones that I do enjoy because there's ways to mitigate it too, based on like cards and stuff like that. Not cards, tiles, I think. Yeah.
So each column has 3 tiles.
Yeah.
And you just normally just take a tile and put it as influence in that area. However, if you take the last tile of a certain column, you get to take the bonus action of that.
Yeah. And so I do like what this does. It's a fun little area control style game in a sense. But it's fantastic. I do like this as a 2-player game. It's one of my favorite of the tug-of-war style games, and I'm not a huge tug-of-war fan. But yes, Revolution 1828.
Yep, very, very happy I have this one.
All right,
Castles of Tuscany. Here we go. We both played this. This almost unseated Castles of Burgundy for me as my favorite one. This does everything that Castles of Burgundy does. It does it in half of the time, and it ramps up comboing in a really clever way. This is kind of like a card game version of Castles of Burgundy.
I didn't pull up the card game or the dice game.
Right, which, I mean, those are mostly the...
One's a roll and write, and the other one's just a card that takes up as much space as the base game.
Right, which you played both of those,
yes.
Right? Yeah, so I'll just count one for each of us for those. Okay. Anyway, so yeah, Castle of Tuscany, the way this works is very simple. You know, you're going to be playing cards from your hand, trying to get the sets of the different tiles that you're building onto one of your 3 or 4 boards. Similar idea, you can only store a few, so you're trying to get the tiles the right way and build off of that. But what's cool is that you're building onto these action spaces. And as you play certain actions, because you take an action on your turn, you're able to combo them and do more efficient of those actions. So unlike Castles of Burgundy, like you're using 2 dice to either take a tile, build a tile, etc., etc. This one, instead, you might take a turn where you're taking multiple tiles, or you're building a tile in one of your remaining spots, or the tile that you place builds off a different action that was previously used. Blue tiles are effectively like wilds, and they're nice wooden hexes. You can get 2 different types of points, like green points and red points, and the certain ones of those, I forget which one the inner track is ongoing. So each of the rounds you get more points. Plus you also have end game objectives that you can go. It's just, there's so many cool. 30 to 60 minutes accurate seems long for a 2-player only game. Yeah, it's probably pretty long for that. But what's weird about this game is that the first round are more important than the last because of rescoring. I can see that, yeah.
Yes.
But since everybody knows that, it also kind of balances, because then you have to kind of like jump for that. And then, of course, whoever gets the majorities first, fills in their spots, can get the majority tiles. It's super cool. I like this game
It's
a lot.
neat.
It's so fun.
It's never going to unseat Castles of Burgundy for me.
It gets close.
The thing about this one is sometimes it just feels a little too lucky because of the card draws.
Yeah.
And that's my thing is like you don't feel lucky in Castles of Burgundy. You feel smart because you made a good play and stuff like that. This one is a little bit more on the luck side.
Yeah.
I do like this one a lot though. I think it's a fantastic game. All right, moving on to our next one here. Another one, I wouldn't say this was a disappointment for me, but this is more of a...
You did not like this one when we played it.
I feel it's too much. I do like the game in a sense. It's more middle of the pack, maybe towards the back end of my Feld like. Mm-hmm. It feels like it was just too much. There was too much going on in this one because you had this little section and you had this little section and you got to make sure these guys are moving in the right section. This is Bonfire. They're a source of light. You're basically working for the Guardians of Light in order to brighten the city in an otherwise dark planet. You're a group of gnomes living close to the city, and you also need to light the bonfires, missing it. And now you try to yourself to visit the cities and learn how to ignite the bonfires once again. You must visit at the Guardian of the Night. And so the way this works is you're going to be drawing tiles, you're going to put them on your own little player board, and that's going to determine your actions. You can move your ships to an island, receive a task from the island by spending 2 resources, invite a Guardian of Light into your city, which triggers, it's a whole little path game in there. Add landscapes to your tiles, recruit a gnome, gaining special abilities, find and support the last bonfire, gaining portals, and all this sort of stuff. There's a lot going on in this game. There is a lot. And that's my thing is, I'm a fan of point salad. I don't mind when there's... it's not an elegant way of how this goes. There's too much. I say if you take out just a couple of pieces, it would work a little bit more for me. It's a lot going on in this game.
Yeah, I could see that. While it's okay for me, this is less of a point salad game, more contract fulfillment, right?
Yeah.
Because each of those islands up top on the top half of that board, that's where you're trying to go, but you have to fulfill those.
It.
Yeah, I know you do. Well, it's a Stefan Feld, so you own it. Yeah, right. But at the same time, I would not be against playing this more because what this does is that the little triomino tile thing or the bar of 3 actions, when you put that on your board, you're also trying to make it in a way where as many of the actions connect as much as possible because you get 1 point for every one in that grouping of that action, and you're using all of those tokens to try and manipulate your way onto those contracts to fulfill them as best as you can and do so in the most efficient way. Yeah, there is an extremely lot of things going on in this, and I totally get that. There's 11 different actions you can choose from, and all of those are dictated by the boards and how you do stuff. So yeah, it's one thing has to lead to another, and then a fourth thing, hopefully, if you're lucky, kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. There is a lot of steps to be able to do what you need to do.
Yes.
Don't get me wrong. Out of all the Feld's games, I do like this one.
I think this is his most convoluted.
It is very convoluted. It's not elegant like you expect from a Feld game. I do like this game. It's just, it doesn't sing like it needs to for me when it comes to Feld games.
Yeah.
I would play this one over Forum Trodronum, honestly, but it's still just kind of not... But, speaking of which... I think the next game we're going to talk about, I wish got more love than it does. It really just came and went kind of a situation.
Yeah. No kidding. Cocopelli. So this game, first off, we're from the American Southwest. Cocopellis are very prominent around here. Mm-hmm. And this, unfortunately, this was when they really started ramping up the Queen City collection. They were talking about those, building those, doing the Kickstarters, and then they were like, oh yeah, by the way, here's a Cocopelli.
It got lost in the shuffle.
It's wait, what? Why didn't you tell me more about this?
Yeah.
And it's really neat because of how it works. You have 4 little tribal areas that you have on your board, and your full region expands to the 2 on the other players, on the players to your left and the players to your right. Both of those make up the 8 areas where you can play cards onto. You cannot start a celebration of a specific type. Basically, whatever card I play, let's say I play a pink card, right? I can play it in one of my 4 boards to start a celebration.
Oh.
However, that was random.
Yeah.
However, if I do so, then I can't start a celebration if it's already existing in one of those two neighboring boards. But each one of those, the first time you start a celebration, you get some kind of bonus action or an ongoing action that you have throughout that round. However, if you complete one of them by placing the fourth card, then at that point, you score the points. Even if I complete my opponent's ones, I'm going to get the main points. They'll get a point as a consolation prize. But then I also prevent them from getting those actions anymore. Mm-hmm. And a lot of the actions are really simple. You're either you can expand your territory, or you can score for 3 cards, or when you take the draw action, you take multiple cards. Or also when you play the last card in your hand, you get a bonus of 3 cards and and a point. There's one that if you do that, you get 5 cards and 3 points. It's like, whoa, that's out of nowhere. And so you're trying to be the first to complete these different celebrations before your opponents, but you can also play on theirs while they're working on it, and completing those gives them a consolation point, but then you stop their actions. It's so cool. I love the combos at this. 2 players, so I'm going to tell you...
It's fine at 2 players. I don't like it as much.
Yeah, it's not as good because 3 is really the fewest I would play it, and that's because you get the direct interaction with your left and right neighbors, and that's fun. And then they're able to play off of stuff that you haven't played yet either, which is pretty cool. But with 2 players, it's literally just both your boards and that's it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's not as good, but I still very much like it.
My favorite player count for this one is 4, just because there's one person I'm not messing with the entire time. But I like the non-interaction, because I can be looking at his board and I'm like, oh, he's got that started over here. Right. I know he can't mess with that. So if I started over here, I'm really screwing that person over.
And not only top of that, like in a 4-player game, you don't directly interact with the person across the table from you, but you're still racing to get those points.
Points, yep.
And if they beat it before you do, that might be an incentive. You're looking over there going, oh, wow, you're going for... If you play Cocobelli on that, you got it. I better finish my action. Even though I'm getting a good action, I better finish this celebration to get the points before you do. It's so good.
But you can even interact with that person across. You're like, oh, you're getting close to doing that. But if I play this over here, that helps him finish it.
Right.
Which means I'm still going to get points.
And I love it when we finish the celebration, because you get 2 actions on your turn, right? And so I might play a card in front of me which finishes an action, and then immediately the player on my left, like the person across the table is like, cool, now I can finally do something. And the player on my left is like, all right, now I'll play that, open that, now that you're completed, I will open that celebration. You're like, no! Like, I just had that opportunity, how dare you?
So I do, cool. I like this with more player counts. 2 is fine.
Yeah, 2's fine. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's fine. 3 and 4 is premium.
All right, so we're not going to get too much into detail on these next ones because we've already talked about them, but I wanted to give them a shout out.
Sure.
These are the city collections.
Yep, we'll talk about them briefly.
Hamburg, which is Bruges, which we were talking about. It also has the expansions based into it. Yep. The board is a little busier compared to the Bruges board because you're mainly just dealing in this section here and some of these little other sections, but a lot of this is expansion stuff too.
Yeah.
But all in all, it's fine. I do love the game on this one.
Sure.
We're just going to do a complete run through real quick. Yep. Amsterdam is one we talked about in Macau.
Yep.
This, honestly, I wasn't enamored with it, in all honesty.
Yeah, it was all right.
It's this right here. It's just, it's another one that didn't feel elegant when it compared to other stuff. Like, just because the way this works. But the next one you want to talk about, because that is a new one.
Yeah, so Marrakesh. Here we go. We both played that one.
Yep.
No surprise there. All right, so Marrakesh is the big box version of the City Collection. This was the 4th one of the series and the first original of that series. So this, again, what you're trying to do is you have multiple different actions you can build off of different regions on the main board, which, by the way, inlaid board.
If you have the special... I don't know about the other editions, but I know the special edition.
That's really the only version you should be getting. Anyway, no. So, you're sending your pieces out, and each one scores in different ways. Yeah, it takes up a lot of room, right? And you can see the little hexes on each of the spaces around the buildings. As you take those building actions, you get different actions on the board, different ways to maneuver around it, and you're also vying for kind of like a majority, I guess, kind of.
Yeah, it's point salad through and through, because you're doing a cube tower as well on this one. That's going to determine the actions that you can take.
Yeah.
Essential Edition. I have the Special Edition. I haven't played the Essential Edition.
Yep.
So, but yes, you have the cube tower that's going to dictate the abilities.
Let's see if we can find a picture of that.
And I'm trying to find one. Let's go back over here.
You think that it would, right? You know, like there's plenty of pictures. You think they would show the cube tower?
There we go.
Yeah, there it is. Yeah.
And so the cubes are going to dictate what you're doing. You're moving up a track. You have this player board where you're doing different stuff. Each person has their own individual player boards where they're doing stuff. It is point salad through and through.
Yeah, but he has a lot of good comboing. Like I want to point out this middle part.
This is neat.
That looks ugly as all get out. But what you do on that is you're moving each of those two different tracks down the spot. And when you move one of those pieces in a way that it completes a line between the two, you get the extra actions in between those, which is really fun. And those actions let you combo, build off of more. That's a really gratifying thing. Oh, by the way, that board I was showing you, or we were showing you earlier, that's each player's board.
Yeah, that's not the main board.
That's not the main board.
There's 3 main boards. There's this one.
Mm-hmm. Which is where the cubes come out in the top.
Yeah,
tower.
And then this one.
Mm-hmm.
And then,
the central board, yeah.
Yeah, here we go. Here's a good view of it. This is the central board right here.
So much stuff.
You have the player boards over here. You have your own player screens hidden back here.
Yes.
So, there's a lot going on in this game, but it is point salad goodness.
Yes.
All right, back into some reprints here. You have New York City, which we mentioned is Rialto.
Yep.
Like Masmo says, the Rialto is more colorful. I do like New York City just because of the simplicity of it when it comes to like the pieces and stuff like that. Because it shows you like the 5 boroughs. Plus, I know New York City a lot better than Rialto. The other one is Castles of Burgundy Special Edition. This is by far my favorite reprint of anything that's ever been reprinted. Awakened Realms really knocked this out of the park. This has made me decide I want to back Puerto Rico, even though I really like the game and would love to own it. Because of what they did for this, I'm looking forward to Puerto Rico's reprint. This is fantastic. I do have these Sundrop Towers, which are nice. They're fun to play with. It's interesting. I do like the acrylic, and I think that's what you went for. Was just the acrylic.
Yeah, I don't need the towers.
Which is fine and dandy. This is a gorgeous board. I do like the little honeycomb thing that goes over the top of your board. This way, make sure it doesn't any jostling and stuff like that. I think that's a nice little addition.
It does essentially the same thing that the expansion for Azul did, right?
Yeah.
It has just kind of like an inlay so the tiles don't slide around as much.
Yeah, so they did a fantastic job with this reprint. So want to give them a little shout out. We mentioned Vienna. This is the new version of La Isla.
Yep.
Here's the central board instead of a creative board, and this one's more of a spy thriller than, finding lost animals.
Great theme, by the way. I mean, that's a really cool theme.
But it's funny that you went to spies compared to when you were looking for animals. It's an interesting twist on.
It is.
Cusco, which is the reprint of Bora Bora.
Yep.
I really want to try this one out because it's interesting how they work. Instead of the islands, you're going to be doing like the gardens, I believe.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
The mountainous gardens, so that's interesting. But here's the newest game that both of us really want to get, and this is Civolution.
Yeah, oh man, I haven't looked at the board yet. Oh, jeez.
Yep.
Is that each player's board?
I don't know, but this is...
Oh, that's totally a tech tree. Oh, God.
Yeah, that's why I want to play it. It's a tech tree game. It's Civolution. You're managing countless possibilities, evolving your civilization. This is supposed to come out SN this year. I believe Pegasus Spiel in deep print. Yep.
Wow.
Hello, student beings. The cosmic faculty of the Technical Academy of Creation is delighted to welcome you to your Civilization, the final exam in civilization design. So Civilization is a medium-heavy to heavy Euro-style game that utilizes a dice selection mechanism to trigger actions on a tech tree structure. As you figure out how best to use your dice and put your unique cards into play, tons of strategies and paths to victory to emerge throughout each time you play. You'll only explore a fraction of possibilities that this game system and the cards provide. I'm looking forward to this one. I'm not too big on like the really heavy Euros, but that is gorgeous.
And anything that Stefan Feld does is worth looking into. And yeah, what Masmo said, Like, what is this? My eyes. Like the busy boy talking about Vienna, of course. But 90 to 180 minutes. Yeah, I mean that's.
Look at this board right
3
here.
hours.
Yeah, this is gonna be a heavy one, but anything with a tech tree in it, I'm really happy about.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, hey A3.
How's it going?
I mean, I don't know what to think about this. Like, I'm gonna buy it. I mean,
I'm gonna get it. It's
who
Feld.
cares what I think? I'm gonna buy it. I'm gonna play it. I'll probably really like it. But that board, good God!
Look at that thing. Look at that thing.
That's obscene.
I'm out for this one. It seems too much. I get it. I
don't think that's just his heaviest game for like how difficult the game is. I bet that's the heaviest game. Like per weight.
I don't know. Marrakesh is pretty heavy.
Marrakesh has a lot of empty space in that box.
Yeah, but it's still heavy. There's got some chunky pieces in there.
Sure.
All right.
I don't know.
The last two on our list, we kind of talked about one of them anyways. That is Nassau, which is the reimplementation of Rum and Pirates.
Which hopefully we'll be getting soon to play out.
Yep. And then finally, the other new one. So go ahead. Close this out.
New. So, take on the role of an expedition to discover the diverse landscape of Nepal, its temples, cities, and finally Kathmandu. Traversing the lands is often tricky and requires good planning, the right tools, and a bit of luck. Sketch illustrious animals that you discover, trade for cities for local goods, and visit the many temples to pay your respects. Kathmandu is played in rounds. Each player uses 3 of their 5 dice. Wait, dice-based action... Oh, sorry.
You're going to make that joke the whole thing. Oh, wait, we're done.
Oh, wait. You know those next 2 games that they just announced? I bet. To gain resources and move around their landscape boards. The end goal is visiting Kathmandu. Along the way, players gain points through various means, visiting temples, trading through goods in their cities, discovering each landscape, and drawing the many unique animals that call Nepal their home. The players need to be efficient on their turns to achieve as much as possible, and also not waste much time, since the storm is coming. Always be in front of the storm, and don't lose sight of Kathmandu, since reaching it before the game ends yields many extra points. Dice rolling, race, set collection, variable setup. Sounds cool.
I'm looking forward to this one. When they announced it on the Kickstarter.
With a bunch of bad things happening. It sounds like in the Year of the Dragon a little bit, you know.
Plus, that cover is actually really nice.
Yeah, the city collection is incredibly expensive.
It's getting ridiculous.
I mean, yeah, we're still buying them, though.
Yeah.
So there's that.
It's because of Stefan Feld. If it was anybody but Queen, or anybody but Stefan Feld, really... I would say no, but it's Stefan Feld, and I'm loving him. I haven't found one I haven't liked all that much that they've reprinted. So
right. So we talked about 32 unique games. Mm-hmm. Technically, 2 are not out, so I'm not going to count them. But we have not played either of those 2, Civolution or Kathmandu.
Yep.
But out of all of the ones that we have played before, neither of us have only played 4 of those games. There's like Rum and Pirates, the Rose King, and like the soccer one, and one other.
Yeah. Those
are the only 4 that neither of us have played. That's a big percentile. That's like, what, 12%? That neither of us have played?
Yeah, that's... Like I said, this is one of the only ones that's like a higher percentage compared to the Stonemaier game.
Yeah, this is up there. Wow, so we hope you enjoyed that board game breakdown today. We liked it. I mean, like I said, there's one of our favorite designers. If our excitement didn't come through enough, that's just because it's been a long podcast and we just genuinely really like the stuff that he's come up with.
It's a fantastic... he's a fantastic designer. We've talked about it before.
Yeah.
There is a certain amount of designers that it's shut up and take my money. Phil Walker Harding. Who's the other one?
Stefan Feld, obviously.
Well, Stefan Feld. And there was, I don't know, Emerson Matsuchi's up there. For me, it's Stonemaier. For you, it's a few other people. But yeah,
the 2 main ones. Smirk and Dagger, almost
Yep.
anything they come out with. Fireside Games.
Yeah. But yeah, Stefan Feld, like if we see Stefan Feld, it's like, I don't care, here's the money.
Yep, exactly. No, it's really true, and that's just because he's hit so well. Mm-hmm. There's only one game out of these that I don't like, and that was his smallest kind of crappy game.
It happens, yeah.
Yeah, and it was trying to be a Las Vegas game that just really didn't work.
And it's funny, because the one I don't like, I would still play. I do enjoy it, Forum Trodranum.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you'd still play it and still have a good time.
Yep.
So we hope you enjoyed our episode today. If you ever want to email us directly, you certainly can. Email us at everydayboardgames2020@gmail.com, whether that's to enter in future contests, hint, hint, or whether that's to... What are you actually looking at over here? I didn't even see. I don't know. Anyway, whether it's to enter in possible future contests, whether that is to say hello to us directly, or give us ideas for future episodes, you can do so. Also, follow us at Instagram.com/everydayboardgames, and we've been trying to post more about that. We post all of our plays that we do, at least most of them, and yeah.
One of us does anyways.
One of us, this guy, does so much better than the other host.
All right, all video re-uploads are found on YouTube under youtube.com/@everydayboardgames. We also do reviews over there, so check us out. If you like what we do, you can help us grow on the platform. Subscribe if you're not, like the video, and comment down below and tell us your thoughts on the subject.
And if you want to join us live, like our friends Ithri or Masmo or anybody else who joined us live today, we stream our episodes live at twitch.tv/everydayboardgames.
As well as all audio versions can be found on most podcast platforms. This is under Everyday Board Games podcast. This includes Spotify, Amazon Music, Podbean, and Apple.
So we want to thank you so much for tuning in. As always, I've been your host, Daniel.
And I've been your host, Daniel.
And we want to thank you for listening to Everyday Board Games.
And just like Masmo says, every day is a good day for board gaming.